Hi, and welcome to my channel. Today I'm going to be showing you the number one reason your furnace stopped working. So I'm going to go over that, but I'm also going to go over a couple of simple maintenance things you can do to your furnace that you should do once a year. By doing this, it really does not require a professional to come in and check your furnace every year. I know they're going to want to do that, and by all means, if you feel more comfortable doing that, go for it. But I'm going to show you what I do every year as preventative maintenance so that I don't have furnace failures, and I'll show you the number one reason furnaces fail. And it's not a difficult fix. It's just something that if it's not looked at every year or every other year at the most, then you could potentially have an issue where your furnace isn't going to run. It's going to start up and stop, start up and stop. It's just not going to stay running. So I'm going to show you what that is and how you go and take care of that issue. But what I'd like to stress is that if you just do this every year, you won't have that problem. It'll just be a preventative thing that you can do. So the first thing you're going to want to do is you're going to want to, at least on my furnace, now all furnaces are a little different, but on my furnace, what I'm going to want to do is take off this upper panel and this lower panel, and you just do that with these 4 thumb screws. Now that I got the covers off, we can see inside our furnace. So the first thing that I would always do, just get a little shop vac in here, vacuum out any of the dust and spider webs and all that. You can see some down below here. You can see some up in here. So just hit that with a vacuum real quick. Vacuum up any loose debris. The next thing that you're going to want to do is, let me see if I can get the light shining in here. So on this particular furnace, it's kind of hard to get at. But there is a probe. The probe is connected to that orange wire. You can kind of see it. It's having a hard time focusing. But that, you got that one little screw holding that thermocouple attachment in. It's basically a temperature probe. And what that's doing is it's making sure that once the furnace starts up, that the temperature increases to the point that it can be confident that the furnace is actually running, because that's actually going to be sticking out in the flame once the flame starts. So if that temperature increases, it can confidently say the furnace is running and that it'll keep supplying gas. Now, if that little probe carbons up or gets kind of a protective layer on it through use and being in a flame for many hours, it will register an incorrect temperature reading. And when it measures an incorrect temperature reading, it's usually measuring on the low end. And by measuring on the low end, it's telling the furnace, hey, something's not burning right here. We're not running as hot as we're supposed to be. So it's going to shut off the gas supply. It's going to stop your furnace. It's going to start blinking an error code. Now, every furnace is different as far as what that error code is, and every furnace is different too as to where this probe is. I've had furnaces in the past where this probe was really easy to get to. It was literally a 5-minute job. This furnace is a little harder because what I got to do is I have to remove these 2 screws and those 2 screws to remove this gas line, get that out of the way so I can get my hands back in there to take that screw out, to take that probe out. And once we take that probe out, all we're going to do is clean it off with a piece of light sandpaper or some steel wool or something not very abrasive. Just want to kind of buff it up a little bit, and then we're going to put it back in. So let me get to that point, and then I'll show you how I did that. Okay, now that I got that out of there, and this one's tricky because there's like two probes on here. I'm not exactly sure what the two are for. One of them just goes to this bracket. The other one is actually the temperature probe. I don't understand it completely, but I'm going to clean them both up and put them back in there. Now, when you're doing this, it's easiest to be using a magnetic hex tip on your screwdriver, because otherwise you'll be dropping those screws in. So it's really handy to have a magnetic tip on your screwdriver. So I'm basically going to just take my steel wool here. I'm going to just buff these up a little bit. Clean those up. Just clean off any carbon buildup that might be on them. Just clean them off. It doesn't really take a lot. And there you have it. I'm just kind of wipe them off there. And make sure there's no debris left in the steel wool. Steel wool is probably not the best, but some real light sandpaper, but I didn't have any available at the moment. So that's all it takes. Now we're going to put this back in there and put everything back to the way it was. So now I got the probe put back in place. And another thing I just wanted to mention is this is not entirely replacing a technician's annual or biannual check of your furnace. This is just something that a homeowner can do maybe every other year or every year, just to prevent having to have a professional come out every year. So, or maybe you have an instance where your furnace quit and it might be a day or two till you can get a guy out. So this is a good thing that you can just check to see if maybe this is what your problem was. So you can take that probe out and clean it, put it back in, and see if your furnace works. So the first time, that's what happened to me. And I didn't know, I had no idea what the case may be. Well, the technician came out. He showed me exactly what the problem was. He says, all you really got to do is clean this probe off, put it back in, and you're good to go. He said, since I came out, since you're paying for a service visit, I'm just going to put a new probe on. But you really don't need that. It just needs to be cleaned and put back on. So hopefully this helped you. It helped you with your furnace. I hope it helps you with your, just one of the things to check, preventative, each year. One other thing I failed to mention earlier is to always make sure you change your furnace filter a few times a year. That's one of the easiest things you can do and one of the best things you can do for your furnace. So thank you for watching, and hopefully this helped you out, and we'll see you next time.